I never thought that I would say this out loud, but there are some things that I regret about my period recovery journey. Because it wasn't always sunshines, rainbows, ovulation, happy hormones. I got my period back, everything was great. There's actually a lot of downsides to it. So here are my 7 biggest regrets going through period recovery that I wish I would have done differently and why I would have done them differently. So if you are on a period recovery journey right now, I highly suggest listening to the end so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. I have treaded through the trenches so you don't have to, my friend. So stay tuned, because while I wouldn't change the outcome, I would have changed some of the avenues that I did take. So let's start off strong with the biggest one, and it is taking Allin way too aggressively. Hello. From what I understood at the time, Allin was eating a minimum of 2,500 calories, which was super duper scary for me. Parking my butt on the couch back there, not doing any kind of exercise, and completely throwing in the towel of all of my quote unquote progress that I've made throughout the years, and doubling my weight overnight. So I went from active, structured, goal-oriented to kind of really lost, and I didn't have any goals really other than get my cycle back. I definitely was depressed. Not only because I couldn't move my body, I wasn't doing anything that I genuinely enjoyed. Obviously, I did have some obsessive compulsive natures towards exercise and my food intake. However, it did bring me a lot of joy that I have found right now. Like, I do still care about myself. I do still care about my health and moving my body and eating well. It's just in a different light and with a different lens than it was before. However, it does give me a lot of joy. And so going from the leanest, most disciplined person to kind of the polar opposite was very mentally challenging, and it took a huge toll on my mental health that I wish I would have done it differently. I wish I would have done it more slowly and more gradually so I could conceptualize the changes that were happening and the changes that I were making, and also understanding why I was making those changes. A big part of going all in and kind of like throwing out all of the quote unquote progress. I'll use quotations because progress is subjective. You've probably heard in a different video of mine of why I don't particularly like the all-in method, and it's because I went from one end of the pendulum all the way to the other end of the pendulum without coming into the middle, which is kind of where you want to be. You want to be in the gray area. You want to have movement in your daily routine or your weekly routine within reason, and learn how to incorporate it within reason. Now, the all-in part of nutrition definitely led me to an overeating habit. The reason for that was because I had already had the all or nothing mindset. So I was either all out or all in. And I absolutely loathe the concept of all in, just because it does bring back very bad memories of me just adopting a very skewed mindset towards food and using it as a coping mechanism, and just going down this whole other path of binges and struggling with food that way. I did get my cycle back. However, for years after that, I struggled with overeating and compensating, and the whole binge restrict cycle was a very large part of my life, which again, I wish I would have done it differently from the start and really nipped it at the butt from the start rather than just doing it for the sake of getting my period back. Number 2 is consuming too many of other people's recovery stories. Now, I bet that you are a very competitive person and you attach a lot of your progress based on what other people are doing. And I used to be like this very much so, to the point where it's like, this girl got her period back in 3 months and I'm already on month 4 of my period recovery. This is so not fair, blah, 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 blah. Okay, if you are in that mindset, I very much highly recommend that you just get yourself out of that position. So rather than being obsessed with other people's timelines, that makes you obsessive of your timeline, negate it. Just get rid of it. Because within being obsessed with other people's timelines, you really lose touch with your own. And there is really no timeline. Like, we're in this for life. Like your health is not going to go away, and just because you get your period back doesn't mean you're just going to whoop, now I can just go back to being my old self. That is going to just put you back into this downward spiral of losing your cycle again, and going back into bad, maybe disordered eating pattern. So rather than attaching your story to someone else's, because everyone is different and everyone has different past, genetics, heights, weights, set point weights. Everyone is so different and beautifully different at that, and so are you. So please don't try and obsess over other people's timelines. Focus on yourself, stay in your own lane, tick off your boxes. Are you eating enough? Are you having an appropriate amount of exercise in your routine? Do you have stress management? Are you sleeping enough? These are all little boxes that you need to tick off, and focus on yourself and ticking off your own boxes rather than being obsessed with someone else's timeline. Number 3, holding on to my old body way too tightly. So this one hurts probably the most, but I held on so tightly to my old body because it was a large part of my identity, and I clung to a version of myself that wasn't really real. They were under eating, they didn't love themselves, they were over exercising, overcompensating from the food that they ate, and that is not living out of love. It's not living in alignment with what my true values are. And for that, I am very sad. And she was exhausted. And since I held so much worth in how my body looked in the mirror, every time I saw a little bit more softness or I gained a little bit of weight, I would spiral like no other. I'm talking crying spells. I'm talking like debating life. It was so bad. And the reason for that is I held so much of my self-worth solely in my body and how I identified as like the fit girl, because everyone on the external would give me so many compliments on what my body looked like. Oh my gosh, you're so fit, you're the fit girl, you're kind of nothing without being fit. And that's kind of the story that I had playing on inside of my head. That of course, it wasn't true. It's just a story that was playing in my head. And going through period recovery was actually one of the best things I could have done for my self-confidence, because I learned that there's so much more to being a human being than just your body and what you're putting in your mouth and the amount of exercise that you do. It's careers, it's relationships, it's how you show up for other people, it's adventures, and going out spontaneously on a nice summer night for ice cream with your boyfriend or your husband or whoever. It's being a mom. It's so much more than what you are currently. And I wish I would have realized that sooner, because you can't have both things exist at once. I don't know if you've heard this quote, but it's, you can have everything, just not all at once. And so letting your old body go is very hard. It's also where your freedom begins. So essentially I had to hit a rock bottom to the point where I just couldn't handle staying the same in order to change. And the pain of staying the same was greater than the pain of changing. Number 4, consuming the wrong social media. Social media can actually be super helpful. I've curated my feed to be a bunch of learning, educational, really helpful, motivational stuff. But before that, I was absolutely obsessed with hypothalamic amenorrhea, or HA. I was like, what are these people eating today? It's kind of going back to listening to all these podcasts on, I got my period back in 3 weeks kind of thing, where you're trying to replicate someone else's story into your own, which again, it's not helpful. It just leads you into this comparison game where you just lose sight of your own journey. And on top of that, if you are consuming like bikini competitors, what I eat in a days, or looking at all of these ladies and being like, gosh, she's so lean, why does she have a period? Let me tell you, you have absolutely no idea what is going on inside of that person's life. Social media is such a curated highlight reel. I cannot express that enough. Being in the social media ecosystem, I curate my stuff. Like, I don't want you guys to see my double chin. Like, I have insecurities too, but for YouTube, I'll show you. I'll show you for YouTube, because I love you guys. But just know that these people might actually be dealing with hypothalamic amenorrhea. They might be on the pill and have no idea that they're actually dealing with hypothalamic amenorrhea. And they also might not even be that lean, and they might be just posting pictures of them from a time that they were that lean. Moral of the story, everyone's body is going to biologically function optimally at a body weight and a body fat percentage that is right for them. And typically for women, that's around 20 to like 24%. And there is very minimal people that are an exception to that rule, so don't be fooled. So instead of consuming all of this content that makes you feel like ass about yourself, remember that you have complete control over your environment and what you consume on a day-to-day basis. So you can actually curate your feed to be a lot more helpful. Follow accounts that promote like being very body neutral. Follow accounts that are actually realistic bodies, healthy, realistic bodies. Follow accounts that motivate you and inspire you rather than bring your confidence down. Number 5, expecting a perfect return to health. This applies to so many different parts of my life, but I expected once I got my cycle back that everything would be great and there would be butterflies and rainbows everywhere because I've absolutely accomplished every goal that I've ever wanted. Right now, it might seem that period recovery is the only thing on your mind, and once you hit that goal, you'll be the happiest lady ever. Let me tell you that it is a slippery slope to fall down when you are constantly chasing that next thing. So don't forget to be happy where you're at while working towards your goals. That's where real happiness lies, and you don't actually need to accomplish that goal in order to feel good and feel happy within yourself. And also, when I got my cycle back, I thought that it would be regular, it would be great, but I did struggle with a lot of different hormonal issues, and that is because, and I quote from Dr. Nicola Rinaldi's book, it can take around several cycles for your estrogen, your progesterone, and your hormones to regulate into a regular, healthy, normal cycle for you. So at the start, my cycle was very, very short. My luteal phase was probably 7 days, which is not super healthy. We actually want to be around 10 plus days. So again, it wasn't super regular. I have now maintained a healthy luteal phase, a healthy cycle length for 4 years now, but at the start, it did take some time for it to regulate. So if your first few periods are not perfect, do not fright. Do not freak out. It is normal for them to not be super perfect, and your body will regulate itself. Just make sure that you're not going back into restriction. Make sure that you're not changing anything too drastically yet. Number 6, ignoring my mental health. I thought period recovery was all about eating more, moving less, managing stress, but what I didn't know was the amount of work I had to do on my confidence, my self-image, my identity struggles, my perfectionist issues, my control issues. There is a host of weeds underneath that I had to address. And honestly, I should have gotten help from day one, but working with a professional makes this process so much less lonely. On top of having that hand being held through it, it's kind of like if you have ever followed your dad's footsteps in the snow after he's gone and shoveled the driveway. That's kind of what it feels like. The snow has already been plowed, you're just following the path. And getting help also helped me with reframing my negative mindset that actually led to me losing my period in the first place. So what led to me losing my period in the first place was just neglecting my body's signals. Like, I was exhausted, my hair was falling out, my period was missing, my skin turned all shit, and I didn't care. I just ignored it. My body literacy was horrible. And now, post-recovery, I do not ignore my body's signals. I don't ignore its signs. I listen to it. It's a harmony and a nice happy marriage between my mind and my discipline and my body. So instead of fighting this battle alone, it will be 20 million times easier if you have a support system that actually understands what you're going through. And number 7, thinking that weight gain meant that I failed. I equated my softness with shame and let the scale dictate my self-worth. But at that point, weight gain was not a failure. It was a requirement for me to move forward in life and within recovery. And I know a lot of you guys on social media, on Instagram, have messaged me and you're concerned because your doctor said that you're at a healthy BMI, maybe it's above 18.5, and you're like, my period's still not here. And let me tell you guys, your set point weight is not determined by the BMI chart. I've lost my period at a BMI of 22 and had to gain a little bit more weight again. And that is because you are not a number, you're not a scale weight. And it exists on a scale because everyone is different. And so please don't attach so much of that into your recovery. Have so much more emphasis on the biofeedback that your body is giving you. Is your digestion still crappy? Are you bloated all the time? Can you sleep? Is your skin crap? Is your hair falling out? All of these signs are signs that you might need to put on a little bit more weight. Do not rely solely on BMI. Exactly like what I tell my fat loss clients, do not rely on the scale to give you an accurate representation of the progress that you're making. Because it's not about fat, it's not about fat gain, it's about function. Your body needs it to function. It needs nourishment, and once I reframed my thought pattern from fat gain is the worst thing in the world to this is what my body needs to thrive and function optimally, have a healthy lifespan and a healthy lifespan, I lowered my guards a little bit towards it, because that was when I was really adopting this self-care and doing fitness so much less for the aesthetic reasons and so much more for me feeling good and having freedom, and having fitness add to my life, not take everything away from me. So if you're in recovery, or at least thinking about it, know this. I don't regret getting my period back or anything that happened during the process. I regret how much I fought it. Healing your cycle is not just physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. And you're becoming a whole woman again, and you're coming out of this shell of a human being that you are right now, and it's a beautiful thing. So let go of the timeline, unfollow the noise, hire some help, and trust your body. And most of all, don't wait until you've got your own regrets to finally give yourself permission to heal. And if you do need that help, my coaching application is always linked below. I hope that you guys found some value in this video. If you did, please like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one.